Parenting a strong willed child can feel like a constant battle. Today, we're going to uncover the root causes of defiant behavior and share some expert back techniques to transform your family dynamic, bringing more peace, less power struggles, and more connection and compliance. Hey, parents, welcome to Fulfillment Therapy. Do you want to raise your kids better and have a stronger marriage? Are you up late at night researching marriage and parenting tools and self care tips? Do you start each day hoping for deeper connections and less chaos, but it ends with family arguments and going 12 different directions again? My name's Kendra, wife, mom, therapist, and growth enthusiast. It wasn't until I discovered how to fulfill my unmet needs that I was finally able to show up as my best self as a spouse and parent. I realized that by meeting my needs, I could more fully meet the needs of my family with more energy and less resentment. In this podcast, I teach parents skills like boundary setting, prioritizing personal needs, communication, and claiming ownership. Just like my clients, you'll be shocked by the improvement in your marriage, parenting, and personal life when you focus on fulfilling your important unmet needs. Ready to prioritize yourself so you can quit mentally throat punching people? Then grab those earbuds and head outside, and let's walk and talk. Welcome back to Fulfillment Therapy. I'm your host, Kendra Nielsen, and today's episode explores angry, defiant kids and how we can help them more effectively. If you're wondering how to have a more peaceful home and how to maintain your own well-being in the process, as well as other family members, this episode today will help you. I've spoken to some of these things before, but I really try to hear what my listeners are asking for and my clients are asking for, and this comes up often enough. There's so many parenting struggles, and when you have a strong-willed child, it's very difficult to know how to handle it and to not feel like you are a complete failure as a parent. I had a client recently that came to me talking about her 6-year-old child who's really violent and defiant, and peace is almost non-existent for the family. And the mom was feeling a lot of guilt because she does not want to be around this child, and she feels bad about that. She feels shame. But when she's being honest with herself, everyone's happier when this child is not around as often. This child is still really young, so he doesn't have a lot of self-awareness into why he's doing what he's doing, but he fights back on most things, even with those things that he likes to do. My client says that he seems like he hates her, and he generally acts unhappy at home. She just doesn't know what to do. And sadly, this is not the first time I've heard these things. It's pretty normal. I'm sure you've heard before that we often act out the most in places where we feel safe. If that's happening to you and you're the primary parent that's around, that can feel like a very big burden. And it's hard to take care of yourself and hard to know what to do when that child is affecting the home peace. You might be wondering, what is defiant behavior? Aren't all kids a little bit defiant in their own way? Yes, but when there's defiant behavior with children, it's often this cry for attention or for control, or they're wanting some sort of response to an underlying emotional issue. Now, I don't think this is the case too often, but there are a percentage of kids that do have oppositional defiant disorder or ODD. And this is characterized by that persistent pattern of an angry, irritable mood or that argumentative behavior and even that vindictiveness. Now, the key here is it's persistent. So it wasn't because something's happened recently, or it's not a developmental stage, or it's not because the parents have a control issue or something like that. But for the sake of this episode, we're not going to focus as much on that. Maybe that's a future episode. But today we're going to talk about how you can better manage that defiant behavior if you have a child like this, or maybe you have a family member like this. I may have shared this before, but we have one child that is much more defiant, and there's so many more power struggles compared to all the other children, and it has been very difficult to navigate this. It still is, although we've come very far as we've done a trial and error kind of thing, trying different approaches to see what works. One of the things that works best for this is offering them choices to give that child a sense of control. And when I tell my clients about this and they implement this, they immediately report back that there was significant improvements. The ones that often say there wasn't, when I observe or when we role play what has happened, they're not really giving them the control that they're seeking, or there's a power struggle with both of them that maybe the parent is not as aware of, like they don't have that level of self-awareness. For example, this could look something like, would you like to start your homework now or after a 15-minute break? We do this with our kids all the time, but especially this one child that needs a lot more power. And so it'll be things like, hey, tomorrow we have church early, just a reminder. Do you want us to get you up at 7 or 7:30? That type of thing. Hey, bedtime's coming up. Are you going to go to bed at 9 or 9:15? Did you want to shower today or tomorrow? Anything that we can do to give him more opportunity to feel like he's in control massively improves the dynamic in the home because he feels this sense of autonomy or freedom from having choices. And really, we all like that, but some of us need it even more than other people. Another very simple thing that you can do is validate their emotions. This is another thing I talk about regularly, but the more that I observe, I recognize that this is a key element that is often missing. We are so quick to go to fixing or lecturing, taking things away, disciplining, instead of validating and giving them a voice, giving them choice. So acknowledge your child's feelings and remember, you don't necessarily have to agree with their behavior to still validate them. And here's a quick example. I can see that you're really frustrated right now. It's okay to feel angry, but it's not okay to throw things. Like setting that boundary, but also validating their feelings. Dr. Ross Greene is a child psychologist, and he said, the kids who need love the most will ask for it in the most unloving ways. And I try to remember that. I have a wide variety of clients, and I even have adult clients that come in that are extremely guarded and quite prickly. There's a reason we have walls up, and getting curious about that instead of taking offense, that helps with our kids too. One of the best things you can do for defiant kids is reduce that micromanagement. I see this so much when I'm working with parents. They think that they are just really great with parenting, and we all do in some ways, and then other ways we think we're terrible. But they don't realize how much they're micromanaging, especially if their kids are getting older and they're just used to doing a lot of things for them. But it's important to allow those natural consequences when it's safe and appropriate. For example, if your child doesn't want to wear a coat, then let them experience being cold, obviously within reason here. And that's just one example. I think it might have been even used that one before, but allowing them to forget their homework and get a bad grade and for that assignment or whatever it might be, it's important to let them experience those natural consequences and learn from it. Another thing that comes up when I'm working with these parents is that often we recognize they don't have clear boundaries. This is hard for so many parents, myself included, to very clearly establish and enforce boundaries or rules and those consequences, and often natural consequences. I'm not looking for punishment exactly here. That's all about, you better do this and you better do this, but a natural consequence as a result of the choices that they made. For example, it could look something like this. If you choose not to clean your room by Friday, you won't be able to have screen time on Saturday. So not said exactly like a threat or a punishment, but reminding them, hey, you have a choice here. You can do this or you can do this, and I'm going to detach from the results, and I'm not going to manipulate you or micromanage you, but you do have a choice. It's hard to stay in that space when you don't micromanage or you don't go into that manipulation or those reminders and that nagging, but to be able to let go and to give them freedom to choose what they want to choose. I want to share a couple personal examples here. If you have a child that needs more control or more autonomy and is a little bit more like that alpha personality almost, I'm going to give you some tips that just worked with us personally through trial and error. I found that if we didn't look them in the eye too much, but just said things matter-of-factly and with more of a monotone voice instead of almost this threatening sort of voice that makes them want to fight back, like just a very casual, this is just how it is. If you use that type of voice with your child and don't make eye contact, for example, the night before just going to use this church example again. The night before I would say, okay, just a reminder, we have church tomorrow. What time do you want us to get you up? Then the next morning, okay, just a reminder, we're going to go in 15 minutes. And then as you're leaving, okay, everybody, we're getting in the car. And you don't make eye contact, you don't say anything else, you just go ahead and get in the car. Before that, I'd be so fearful that he was going to be defiant or it'd be a big power struggle that he could almost sense my anxiety about it and my desire to control that outcome. And there was this natural resistance every time. But as I let go more, don't look him in the eye, don't have that tone, don't do any of those things, give him warnings ahead of time, reminders, and then just be matter of fact when it's time to go and go. So much better. Now, that being said, there are still times he pushes back and fights against it. But it's almost like he's testing me. Are you going to let go of the outcome? Are you going to be able to handle this if I don't do what I obviously know that you want me to do? It's somewhat of a test for him. And I've had to learn over and over again how to respond better to that. To reiterate that, just don't have that bossy tone, very matter of fact. Also, remember to validate their feelings, give them that control. Here's another example of what this could look like. Instead of saying, you need to go apologize right now. You know how that's very direct and bossy? Instead, say, how do you think you can make this situation better? And if it were my child, they would say nothing, or they would say something snarky or something like that. Okay, I'll come back in 10 minutes and just remain neutral and allow them some autonomy to think it over and process at their own pace and just revisit it. It's not easy, but it involves letting go of control and letting go of that anxiety. Dr. Daniel Siegel is a clinical professor of psychiatry, and he said, the goal isn't to win the argument or prove you're right. The goal is to connect and solve problems together. And I think that's when it really changed with me and my son, and my husband and my son, because it was with all of us, we were all trying to navigate this, is to stop worrying about winning the argument or proving anything or winning that power struggle, anything like that. But it became about the relationship and about doing what was best for each other. So how do we maintain that family balance a little bit more and make sure that defiant child's behavior doesn't overshadow the needs of other people in the family, especially the siblings? One simple thing you can do is set aside one-on-one time with each child. And that's also helpful for you to get out and get away from that defiant child because they do require more energy sometimes. With a lot of the individuals and couples and families that I work with, I also see how this affects marriages. One child can be the reason for divorce if that child is taking a lot of the energy. It's vital that the parents are united and that they are continuing to communicate. And that could look like regular check-ins to discuss their parenting strategies and support each other. That could be family counseling. That could be marriage counseling. But it could also just be those weekly couple meetings to discuss what needs a little more attention, what they can scale back on, what worked, what didn't work, that kind of thing, without pointing fingers. Now, I do want to remind you that while it's so easy to go to shame, thinking that we're not enough, that we're causing all these problems, that our kid hates us, it's also important to look inwardly in a realistic way, not just a poor me victim mentality. And I do have to say that if your child is acting out, it might have something to do with what I mentioned a little bit ago, that maybe you are being too controlling or too anxious and not giving them enough choice. Or maybe you don't believe in them enough and they resent that, even if they can't put it to words yet. So if that child has that high need for independence, like I talked about, they might really resent you micromanaging them and not giving them nearly as many opportunities as their little souls need to thrive. So be willing to explore that and don't just point the finger at your child, because this is a family affair and we are all players in how this family interaction goes. There are several books that my clients have really enjoyed. Depending on your personality, I'm going to throw out a few of them. The first three have to do more with the strong-willed child. We will put a link in the show notes so you can see this as well. It's Parenting the Strong-Willed Child, The Explosive Child, and Setting Limits with Your Strong-Willed Child. The other ones that don't have quite as much to do with that, but more about the you aspect of it, Overcoming Parental Anxiety, The Gift of a Happy Mother, and How to Talk So Kids Will Listen and Listen So Kids Will Talk. All of these are ones that my clients have enjoyed. Helping an angry, defiant child really does require a lot of patience and consistency and love. This is so hard for parents, and I can speak from experience here. Sometimes this can take years to really fine tune to feel like you're getting any headway. And for us, we did dial it in more and get better and better. But part of it was just being patient as he learned more emotional regulation too, and more maturity. So we were in it for the long haul, and it took a long time, but we are at such a better place now. And he is an incredible kid. He was even then. It was just hard for all of us, but it's much easier now. And it doesn't mean the journey's over. I'm sure there's going to be a lot in the future. But he has taught us more about parenting than maybe all of our other children because of how challenging it has been. And it has made us better all around. So he's exactly what we needed in our home to be refined. Just remember these key points. Empower your child through those choices and through that emotional validation, and set those clear boundaries while avoiding that excessive micromanagement. Use your interpersonal intelligence to navigate those power struggles and maintain a better family balance by addressing the needs of all the family members and not just focusing on that defiant child. If you do these simple things, you will create greater peace in the home. And will it happen overnight? No, but it will help. There was one other thing I forgot to mention. As our son got older, we asked him more and more, hey, what do you like? What do you not like when we do as parents? How could we improve and give you more choices or do things that help you feel safer and more comfortable? Now, again, it depends on that level of self-awareness and their age, but they can give you some really great feedback on how you can refine your parenting. And just a reminder that if these things are so big that they are affecting the mental health and wellness of different family members, it may be time to get help. And that doesn't mean that you are weak or a failure. It just means that you need another person in your corner to give you those tools that you may not have yet. And that's okay. We all do at different times. Thank you for tuning into Fulfillment Therapy today. There'll be more in the future about how to take your mental health and wellness and life fulfillment to the next level for both you and your family. Don't forget to check out our blog on fulfillmenttherapy.org, as well as our courses that will help you take life to the next level, both as a leader with an online business and a podcast, and with your mental health and wellness with our Parenting, Marriage, and Personal Growth course. These are simple ways to improve your life fulfillment from a trusted source with simple step-by-step ways to incrementally grow. All right, my friends, I'll see you back here every Monday and Thursday with a new episode. Hey friends, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you did, chances are someone else would too. Would you take 30 seconds to share this with a friend who's looking for greater family fulfillment? And while you're sharing, tell me what you think about the show by leaving a review on Apple Podcasts. It refuels me when I hear this podcast is helping you. No matter what your house or your hair looks like, I'll meet you back here every Monday and Thursday morning for more episodes. Until then.